Hi, welcome to Prime Recap. A demigod must face his greatest nightmares to defeat the tyranny of greedy lords. Today we will recap the story of the 2014 movie Hercules. On the coast of Macedonia in the year 358 BC, a tale-teller from Aeolus of Athens was kidnapped by pirates, and was trying to distract them by telling about his legendary uncle, named Hercules. Being the son of Zeus, the king of the gods, with a mortal mother named Alcmena, Zeus' wife, Hera, found out about the bastard son that had just been born. She clearly considered it an insult to her honor and tried to kill him with poisonous snakes, but Hercules inherited his father's strength and was almost unbeatable. When he became a grown man, Hercules was sent on a mission with 12 objectives, and if he completed them, Hera would spare him. He fought against powerful monsters like the Erymanthian boar, the Hydra, and the Nemean lion, which was very tough and nothing could penetrate his skin, and the demigod defeated him only by using his fists. However, to Aeolus' dismay, the pirates are not impressed by the story of the demigod, saying that it is totally false. But at that moment, Hercules appears on the ship, and goes to rescue the man using a dead lion's head. And although the pirates were not in the least bit intimidated, since they were in dozens in their gang, the numbers made no difference in the fight. Hercules can fight several men at once using his sledgehammer, and besides, he is not alone. His legion comes along, using attacks with bows, spears and of course the skillful double axes. All the mercenaries annihilate the pirates with extreme ease, and rescue the people being hostage there. After counting the number of dead enemies, for which they will be paid for carrying out the mission, Autolycus tells Aeolus that he must make the stories of Hercules more impressive, to convince the people who hear them, while Amphiaraus, the seer, receives a vision of the flames, where he discovers that a raven and a lion will team up to wage war over bodies. A little later, the legion goes to a tavern, celebrating their victorious rescue. Hercules tells Autolycus about his desire to leave for the lands beyond the oceans, where he plans to have peace and quiet, taking Tydeus with him, as he is his only friend capable of controlling his rage. Out of nowhere, everyone in the place falls completely silent, and several warriors from the kingdom arrive, with the presence of Princess Erginia of Thrace, who asks Hercules and his group to come to the king to receive a mission, which will be paid in large amounts of gold. Aeolus notices that the guards' shields have a raven carved into the metal, as Hercules' symbol is a lion. This coincides with Amphiaraus' prophecy. When they arrive at the palace, Hercules notices a large group of refugees in extreme poverty. They are met by army general Cydicles, who seems annoyed to see Hercules, and by the little boy from Erginia named Ares, who is a great fan of the demigod and knows all his legendary stories. While on their way to the palace, the demigod recalls a battle he had against a Hydra, which were really just a bunch of men wearing lizard-like helmets, a mission carried out for King Eurystheus of Athens, who declared him a hero in front of a huge crowd. Hercules' memories then become dimmer as images of his wife and children being killed pop into his mind, and the demigod does his best to ignore them and concentrate on the present. The group meets with Lord Codes, king of Thrace, who mocks Amphiaraus for not being able to see the future except for his own demise, and judges Atalanta's abilities because she is a woman. But the old man learns a lesson when the woman shoots the helmets precisely out of the guards' hands and leaves everyone impressed. He invites them to a dinner party and explains what their mission will be. They are at war with Rhesus, a bloodthirsty warlord, who is believed to have a fleet of centaurs under his control. Codes shows the hundreds of fugitives that show up in the kingdom every day after Rhesus attacks his villages. He also tells that he has lost most of his soldiers, and his current army consists only of peasants with no combat skills. The Lord and his daughter tell Hercules that only he can bring this victory to the kingdom, and this causes the demigod to accept the mission. In the morning, the group of warriors begin to test the efficiency of the shield wall of the peasant army, but the result is not good. After a while, Hercules goes to see Codes, who has news about Rhesus thanks to one of his informants, Phineus. He learns that the Bessi tribe will be invaded in central Thrace in 6 days, and Codes wants to stop it as soon as possible. Hercules doesn't like the idea, since the Lord's army is not yet ready for a big battle. They are totally unprepared, but Codes doesn't care and tells him to get ready since they will be leaving tomorrow. It was already nighttime, and Hercules noticed Ares sneaking around to see Tydeus sleeping chained to a chariot and is almost attacked as he approaches. Hercules takes the boy out and explains that Tydeus was born in the middle of the fighting, and was more of a violent animal than an ordinary person. The boy saw something that traumatized him so strongly that it made him live quietly, and every night he relives his traumas, but Hercules feels his loyalty regardless. Hercules takes Ares back to Erginia, who is working in the hospital. Due to the death of so many doctors, she has learned to help people with healing powers. Before leaving, the demigod presents Ares with teeth from the Nemean lion, saying it was a gift he kept for his children. The next day, the fleet is ready to leave, and Hercules finds Aeolus hiding among the soldiers, intending to help him in the mission. He warns that the boy is a storyteller and not a warrior, and then orders him to go with Lord Cody's carriage to Bessie. When the troops reach the village, they discover that it is too late. Rhesus has already passed and caused colossal destruction, and the pile of bodies now makes sense. That was Amphiaraus's vision. However, something seems wrong with the bodies, as some are fresh and others are decomposed. This is when the trap is revealed. Savage warriors have created this camouflage among the bodies and attack the Thracian legion. Thinking that the tribe of Bessie warriors is under Rhesus' control, Hercules orders them to protect Codes while the mercenaries confront the savages. The tribal chief wanted to challenge him to a single fight, so to create the illusion that Aeolus could exploit him in his narrative, Hercules carefully broke the head off one of Atalanta's arrows, and when the tribal chief approached, he hit his metal, making it look like a punch killed him. The Codes army found this incredibly inspiring, and they now believed that the gods were indeed on their side. Now the real battle begins. Hercules' legion eliminates as many tribe members as they can, each with their own specialties on the battlefield, but there are too many enemies and soon the shield barrier is breached. Then Hercules and Amphiaraus retrieve the combat chariots and start driving them in circles around the shield wall, repelling and eliminating the tribe's warriors away like a domino effect. The remaining soldiers use this chance to attack, but the tribesmen realize they had been defeated and decide to flee. Rhesus has not been seen by anyone, only a mysterious figure can be seen from afar, which was certainly the centaur. Hercules tells Codes that losing half his army is as much the Lord's fault as it is Rhesus, since he had said they were not ready to fight, and Codes finally agrees to give Hercules more time to make his army more powerful. Elsewhere, General Siticles wishes to finish off Phineus for having practically ambushed his own people, but Autolycus prevents this from happening, saying that now, the army is under his orders, and warns Phineus not to make this mistake again, or the consequences will be severe. Not long after, Princess Erginia arrived with a healer, and she was taken to Hercules' private tent so that no one could see him bleeding like a mortal. After all, he was visible to everyone's eyes. After she leaves him to rest, Hercules has a sinister dream, in which we can see the bodies of his wife and children, his hands covered in blood, and King Eurystheus has expelled him from his home to live in agony for eliminating his family. Hercules wakes up in despair from the nightmare. He comes out of the tent and hears some sounds of children laughing, and as he enters the forest to investigate, he sees his family among the dead of the tribe. But there was a creature feeding there, a three-headed dog, Cerberus, and Hercules prepares to fight the monster, but Tydeus touches his shoulder and brings him back to reality, making him realize that he has been hallucinating many times. In the morning, Amphiaraus learns what has happened to Hercules, not least because it is not the first time he has had hallucinations, and he warns the demigod that he must finish his last job and defeat the beast to find peace. But Hercules thinks he is just going crazy. Nearby Princess Erginia approaches the rest of the legion to find out the real reason for this. They find Hercules standing around the bodies of his family members, but he can't remember what happened. On each of his journeys, he met one of the members of his legion and showed compassion for them, earning the loyalty of every warrior present on the team. Hercules seemed so powerful that they thought it impossible that he was immortal, and the team simply decided to keep telling the fantastical stories to help them get more missions. They think that what happened to him was probably a moment of uncontrollable rage, a common disorder that clouds the minds of warriors with the traumas of war. Well, as of now, Hercules and his legion have put the Codes army through an extremely strict disciplinary training routine. They are given armor and weapons that resemble Hercules and taught the specialties of defense, attacks with various weapons, spears, shields, and many others, finally managing to form a wall of shields that not even Tydeus was strong enough to be able to destroy. Aeolus watches secretly, practicing his moves alone. Sometime later, Phineus returns with new information. Rhesus is on Mount Asticus with a fleet of centaurs, and Hercules decides to defeat him so that he will not get any closer to his area. It might be dangerous because the forest will slow down the fighting chariots, but Hercules has a plan. Unfortunately, Amphiaraus cannot help them by saying whether they will win or not, since none of his visions show this, but he is aware that he will die next week, which is certainly worrying for everyone. Days later, when the army is ready to fight, they reach Mount Asticus, but find no enemy encampments. And yes, the centaur army was there. Rhesus appears on the horizon, and as they get closer they discover they are not centaurs, just a group of men on horseback creating an optical illusion by standing against the sun. Lucky for them and disappointing for us, of course. Rhesus comes to meet Codes and is with Phineus in his support, since he has always been a traitor. Which is to be expected with so much misinformation and traps. Codes refuses to give up, and both sides prepare to clash. Cody's army raises the wall of shields and advances in a flanking position, but the initial attack comes from the Atlanta archers, who emerge with fighting chariots from the forest, ambushing the enemy when they were already very close. Flaming arrows are fired by the enemy army. Amphiaraus opens his arms, ready to accept his fate, but is hit by absolutely nothing. Hercules' army is faster and stronger, so they can overpower the Rhesus fleet with extreme efficiency. The enemy soldiers begin to retreat, but Rhesus confronts Hercules directly in a deadly fight, but he was very wrong. Hercules uses his supreme strength and throws Rhesus' horse away, ending the battle very easily. They return to the palace with Rhesus in chains. Codes humiliates him in front of the populace, but Hercules decides to keep the minimum of honor to the enemy and helps him to keep standing. As they walk, the prisoner says that Lord Codes is a mere tyrant who was the real culprit for the fires in the villages. During the celebration banquet, Rhesus is chained to 2 columns to be displayed as a trophy, and Princess Erigenia tries to give him water, but her father does not allow it. This is where the Lord's coronation comes in, because now that Thrace is no longer divided, Codes is king of the entire territory. When Princess Erigenia leaves the room in a strange way, Hercules becomes suspicious and says he wants her to tell him everything she knows. Erigenia admits that Rhesus is telling the truth. It was Codes who started this war and eliminated her husband with poison, killing the real king. However, she did not rebel against Codes, as the cursed man threatened his own grandson if she turned against his actions. Erigenia tries to convince Hercules to take her son Areus along with him as they leave, but they are interrupted by General Siticles, who announces that Codes wants to see him. Hercules goes to confront the demented, insulting him for his treachery, but Codes finds it amusing that a bunch of mercenaries who will do anything for gold have suddenly developed such great kindness. He says he would like to have his own troops and invites Hercules to lead them, but as the demigod refuses the offer, Codes pays what he owes him and throws them out of the kingdom. When they arrive at the stable about to leave, Hercules gives Autolycus his money so that he can stay there and save Thrace. He doesn't imagine that everyone will take the same attitude, and with that, everyone goes on with their lives quietly, but Atalanta reminds him that none of the members of the Legion obey him because they owe him something, but because they are one big family. The whole team decides to stay and fight alongside Hercules, except Autolycus, who takes all their gold saying that they are crazy. The group rages back to the Great Palace, but General Siticles manages to surround them with his soldiers. After making them drop their weapons, he also tells Codes that he overheard Erigenia conspiring with Hercules to take his grandson away. Codes takes Areus away from Erigenia when she is captured by soldiers, and Boy tries to go to Hercules for help, secretly returning the lion's tooth to him before Codes pulls it back. Hercules faints while trying to save the boy, and wakes up a while later, facing Cerberus, chained on pilasters. As his vision returns to normal, he realizes that there are 3 wolves with very familiar shapes in his memories. They belong to King Eurystheus, who is now an ally of Codes. They have become a duo to dominate all of Greece. After seeing all his friends trapped in cages around him, Hercules is slowly recovering. Cerberus has always been an illusion in his mind, but what he saw that night were the wolves responsible for the attack on his family after Eurystheus put a substance in his drink that made him very weak. Eurystheus reveals that he is right, and that this whole story is real, since when he saw his poser calling out Hercules' name with such joy, he was worried that the semi-god would take his place, so he had to be eliminated. Codes makes his soldiers take Erigenia out of her cell to eliminate her, and Hercules is desperate because he cannot help her. However, when Amphiaraus gives a motivational speech, saying that everyone trusts in his power and courage, Hercules is overstimulated and uses all his power to free himself and save Erigenia. Codes and the others run out of the dungeon and send the wolves to attack Hercules. Erigenia uses the axe they were going to use to eliminate her to open the cell. The wolves fight a fierce battle against Hercules, injuring several parts of his body, but Hercules manages to overpower them and throw them away, finishing one of them with a lion's tooth. Erigenia frees the other warriors and they all take weapons that were left behind, and Hercules climbs a metal door that allows them to escape from the place. As they climb the stairs, the soldiers keep trying to stop them, but the group makes its way easily between them. A spear with a flaming tip comes towards him. Amphiaraus figures that his final hour is now and accepts the attack, but Hercules holds it in the air and uses it to finish off an enemy, saving his companion. During the battle against the army, Hercules pursues Eurystheus, who gives him 1,000 reasons of what happened to the family of the demigod, claiming that he was controlled by Codes. He offers gold and tries to intimidate him with his kingly pose, but Hercules is in a rage. And he throws Eurystheus onto the throne as he sticks his own dagger blade into him, finally getting his long-awaited revenge. But at the same moment, his neck is caught by a rope. It was Siticles, who throws Hercules to the ground and tries to eliminate him, but at this moment, Aeolus attacks him by surprise and saves the life of the demigod. After finally recognizing that his nephew is also a warrior, they join the group that saved Rhesus, and when they leave the palace, they encounter the Codes army troops. Ares is taken hostage by an enemy, and Codes threatens to eliminate him if Hercules does not surrender. Suddenly, the soldier drops dead from a dagger that was thrown into his neck is Autolycus, who has come to support them. Ares runs toward his mother and a shower of arrows set off in the boy's direction. Tydeus jumps up to protect him, and Ares makes it safely to his mother, and even though Tydeus has taken out most of the archers, he is also hit by several arrows. The rest of the group uses the fire barrier against Codes. Hercules takes Tydeus in his arms and watches his friend die, saying the only word at one time, Hercules' name. Codes' soldiers charge forward after the barrier disappears, and the demigod sees only one way to defeat them. Hercules uses all his strength, and pushes a huge statue of Hera, which breaks into hundreds of pieces and crushes almost all the soldiers, throwing Codes into the huge abyss. With the elimination of the king, the people begin to kneel to Hercules and shout his name, naming him their newest king. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.